So I know a lot of people who knows me from like live streams and talking about certain things. Usually they are always talking about, well, Bronzebird, you always talking about New York City and what it's like out there and stuff like that. And it's not because I brag about, being a native New Yorker, being from New York City. It's also tackling the issues that what happens in New York could spread around to other places around the country and therefore the world. Not to say it in a cocky or arrogant manner, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of the different things that happens in certain parts of the countries wind up taking places in other sides of the country. So with that being said, I actually wanted to do this video based upon someone else that I seen on YouTube that was sending out a warning about how if one mayor decides to go ahead and sue, take out a lawsuit on these different companies and what the companies are going to do now, such as social media, that there's going to be more stricter consequences being on these social media apps, which is an understandable thing. But obviously, if you already understand that when you basically virtually sign or you click the check mark that says agree to term and conditions, like your rights is automatically taken away. Understanding that everybody just thinks that, oh, Google has access to your information and, Facebook and all these different things. And pretty much anything that's revolved around Facebook or Meta more than likely has your information, including myself. Therefore, probably get like a VPN or get like some security breach or something like that on your phone or on your computer to protect yourself at all times. Or go through a different name, mysterious name, who knows? But even still there, the all proxies and the IP addresses and all that other stuff. So I'm making this video because Eric Adams, the current mayor of New York City, decided to sue a bunch of social media companies because of the effects that it's having on teens. Now, my thing about it is, I don't blame him for wanting to take that angle. And I did do a video on this a while back where I was talking about how he wanted to regulate what was on social media anyway, because of what was going on with the drill rappers that you can view at any time. But here, we're going to view this video and find out what they're talking about in terms of his newest lawsuit towards social media companies. So, Pete, fair use.
Mayor Adams was getting ready to make his annual State of the State address. And one of the new programs that he mentioned is kind of making a little bit of history and certainly stirring up a little bit of a buzz. The mayor officially declared social media use a health hazard for young people, making New York City the first city in the nation to do so. The challenge now is actually coming up with a plan that might make a difference in how many young people use social media.
Well, that's not the entire point. The whole entire point is, yeah, Eric Adams is used as a Trojan horse to doing this, but they probably was thinking about doing that anyway. I mean, especially if you think about now about what you can and cannot say on places like here on YouTube, that a lot of people's pages is being deleted, especially if they're talking about certain particular topics that's related to red pill and all these different things. At the end of the day, that it was always going to be made to be restrictive. And therefore, you're going to start getting these whole entire things that I'll talk about on another channel where it actually digs deeper than what you think it digs deeper than. You understand what I'm saying? So obviously watching this stuff like Instagram, TikTok, and all this other stuff, yes, it is a social hazard to teenagers, as well as anybody else who uses phones just like me and you do. The obvious cases is to have a healthy balance. I mean, a lot of the times adults will sit up there and say, oh, we should tell kids not to be on their phones as much, but adults do the same thing too. Because I've been seeing adults that sit up there and be on their phone for 7 to 10 hours straight, or just like here on YouTube, will have live streams for 7 to 11 hours back to back. So obviously, this is one of the things that, I mean, yes, Mayor Adams wants to take upon himself, but at the same time, this is going to be more of a restrictive effort to make sure that you are not allowed to say certain things or you're restricted from making certain content, which in this case makes sense because I will explain later in this video exactly what I mean.
Social media is a public health crisis, and it is a toxin, a digital toxin, in the same way that public health fights other kinds of toxins like tobacco, cigarettes, and environmental toxins. There is a public health playbook that we're going to put into play, and today's advisory is the beginning of that process by raising the alarm.
And that's the New York City Health Commissioner, Dr. Ashwin Vasan. He also happens, he says that this all coincides with some new safety updates by Meta. In particular, these are for Instagram.
Yeah, so Meta owns Facebook and Instagram. Instagram in particular is what a lot of the young people use, and these updates include turning off the teens' ability to receive direct messages, those DMs that you hear about from people they don't follow, right, or aren't connected
Totally
to. So
makes
some
sense.
random stranger can't just hit them
You
up
don't want that.
in the DM. Of course not. Also, currently adults over 19 can't DM teens who don't follow them, but now Meta says no one, regardless of their age, will be able to DM a teen who doesn't follow them by default.
Should have always been.
But the thing about it is, the problem with that whole entire thing that happens with Meta is that when you sign in, you already know that teenagers are smart enough to lie about their age, and they're not going to automatically tell you like they was born in like 2013 or 2002 or stuff like that, or whatever ages it is for Generation Z and Alpha. They can totally lie about what their age is. So how can Meta really predict which one is a teen unless they really want to tell the truth, which is probably not a lot of teens? And with that being said, it would probably transverse over to adults as well, where it's just going to be a natural setting for everybody. It's not going to just be teens. Teens is the gate, is like the scapegoat into exactly how Meta is going to move in the future. This is just a test run for now. Of course, they're going to say teens because teens are obviously very impressionable. But at the same time, having this conversation about where they're going to move with Meta, and pretty sure they're going to get on TikTok too, which I'm pretty sure that Mayor Eric Adams decided to take it upon himself to say, hey, we need to also worry about TikTok as well, and YouTube. He named all the social media sites. That's going to be the stricter purpose of a lot of these bans. You understand? And then they're going to have to watch out for a lot of your favorite influencers on YouTube, such as Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, or, a bunch of those guys and stuff like that. Limited stuff that happens on there, Charleston White, just to name random people at large. You understand? So the thing about it is, yeah, they could say teenagers, but more or less, more than what I'm thinking is Meta is definitely not going to make it just for teenagers. They're going to make it for everybody.
And finally, starting today, parents using Instagram's parental supervision tools will be prompted to approve or deny teenagers' requests to change their default safety and privacy settings to a less strict state rather than just being notified of the change. They actually have the ability to. This, last summer, this raised a lot of concern with the U.S. Surgeon General raising red flags with social media use in teenagers because 95% of teenagers, almost all teenagers, use some form of social media. We know that. 1 in 3 almost constantly. They're always on the phone. But I said this morning, and I think, I don't know if you guys would agree, it starts with the parents. Right? I mean, because we're just scrolling.
It definitely does, but there are gimmicks, and we all know it, to keep you online. And while we may be able to turn the phone and put it down, I think young people who are not as aware to it cannot.
But can they? Because I see even adults that have a hard time. So then try to factor that in to having an adolescent mind. That's really tough.
We just need to be more aware. This brand new technology, we just threw it into children's hands and didn't pay any attention to what it does or what it doesn't do. So now hopefully we'll start paying attention.
Some barriers to the ease and the access that strangers have to these children, that is essential.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a good move. Glad to see it.
And my thing about it is this. Everyone is guilty in some type of way. So I love it when certain people say, oh my God, I need to be more aware and stuff like that. We all have our muses. We've all been guilty of it. I mean, even going further into the fact, we've been guilty of really resonating ourselves into social media as making our own personas from ourselves, losing ourselves in social media and technology, and where we would have to apologize to ourselves to getting into that realm and remembering that we still are people. Well, socializing does happen on social media, but being able to say the virtual world should be different from the physical world. You understand? So even thinking in that, I reminded myself of this whole entire thing that was happening. 2 things. Number one, especially going on the subway or going on any type of public transportation, or whether you're in a taxi or you're driving a car, hopefully not driving a car. Don't text and drive, or don't look and drive. Obviously be responsible. It is so crazy how in this era, it used to be, CD players, newspapers. Now, pretty much if you get on an average New York City subway car, more than likely, most people on that train are going to be looking on their phone, using their phone in some type of way while they enjoy the subway ride. And you're only going to see maybe briefly a little bit of people that's probably going to be reading a book or going to be looking at the transit car as it's moving. That's just the world we live in, living in a digital age. Everything is popping up everywhere. Convenience. But otherwise than that, I also thought about back in the past how, yes, it is true that social media can be much of a hazard, as well as back in the day that people had no problems of exposing other people. Men exposing young men, exposing women who decided to send them explicit pictures and then calling them a hoe and a smut just because of the fact of the matter they decided to send those pictures out there as a form of bullying, cyberbullying. And obviously, we know here on YouTube, there's popular YouTube content creators or people that's been in different sectors that's been known for doxing or doing things where they share people's private information. Don't think it's appropriate at all. I think if there's any sensual or sensitive information, keep it to yourself. Regardless if you and that person has a disagreement, don't get along anymore, don't want to deal with each other anymore, whatever have you. But I want to take you to the last video of which I understood that this is a trend that can obviously, I would say Eric Adams is right about, because this is something that seems to be a trend that started from urban exploration to a bunch of teens doing a lot of rambunctious things to being daredevils and thinking that they're doing something great when they have the potential to harm themselves. That's been taken obviously from New York and now has spread to California. So this is a video right here I want to show you guys in which this video is 2 young men died from surfing on a BART train, which is something I actually did see on Instagram a couple of days ago. So let's peep it out.
A social media trend claims the lives of 2 young men in the Bay Area. People climbing on top of BART trains and attempting to surf them. The 2 deaths come in just the past 2 weeks. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meeback.
And I'm Julie Hayner. The teenagers died when they fell from a moving BART train. KTVU's Alice Wirtz joins us now. She's at the Glen Park BART station with the connection she has discovered between the 2 young men. Alice.
Yes, that's right. This was a tragic case that happened within 2 weeks of yet another one. A young male traveling on top of a BART train at a high speed just outside of Daly City. It was along this line heading out of San Francisco towards Millbrae just after 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. The male high school student from San Francisco fell from the top of the train as it was moving. Trains reach speeds of up to 40 miles an hour here. Gateway Charter School in San Francisco identified the victim as one of their students, saying in a statement, "We received the heartbreaking news that one of our students died on Sunday. Our condolences go out to the student's family." The mother of an 18-year-old boy who also died last month from the same stunt near the Balboa station had cautioned the late teen on social media just a week ago, warning him of the deadly risk that also claimed her son's life.
And the funny thing about it is, if the mother just cautioned that young man not to do it, and he still does it, this is the problem in this damn generation. I mean, I can't even say it's just that already you have to understand that teenagers, when they get to that type of age, they're rebellious. So of course, their natural instinct is to say, I'm going to go against exactly everything that I know is wrong, and I'm just going to do it because I feel like doing it. And then they're not even noticing the fact of the matter that their lives is on the line by sitting up there doing such a ridiculous stunt. And it's not, like I said, I believe, in my opinion, it did start from New York because New York was known for doing that subway surfing stuff. And this is a video I actually shared last year in which I talked in depth about how it was dumb that a mother wanted to sue the city for negligence when it was obviously her child's fault for sitting up there climbing on top of a J train going to Manhattan and risking his life to do a daredevil stunt such as that.
Even after acknowledging the woman's loss, the teenager continued posting high-risk behavior videos online. Whether it was for likes or the adventure, Sunday's post was his last ride.
The social media world has really complicated matters on how children and young adults, for that matter, sort of mimic behavior.
According to the chair of the Department of Public Health at CSU East Bay, Arnab Mukherjee, social media creates complexities when raising kids.
Unfortunately, that puts a lot of pressure on both families and adults that are close to these children to be able to impress upon them the real consequences of doing some of these actions.
Mukherjee says parents can't caution their kids enough against the dangers of what's online.
We have to be very keen to observe what our children are doing.
Reaction from BART riders was shock.
Someone else said it was like a teenager. I don't know what was going on, but that's like really dangerous.
Victoria says she rides BART frequently. She shared videos of risky stunts are easily found on social media.
I have not seen that, but I'm also more on Facebook. I think some people are more active on TikTok or Instagram. So I think it really depends on like what you see surfacing.
Bobby Herrera lives in the Mission and shared he knows teens are always doing reckless things, even himself once way back.
No, not like that, you know, but yeah, I mean, there's always crazy stuff going on, dirt bikes in the street, people bombing down the hills at the Dolores Park on their skateboards and stuff.
And that's it for the video. I mean, my honest opinion is, yes, it starts off with the teenagers. Teenagers throughout any population, even my era, has always been known for doing some outlandish stuff. But because it's the digital age, it's obviously validation that comes into the picture when having this discussion. Well, obviously with that, yes, you can take it as, yes, this should be a safety precaution that needs to happen, in which we have to warn people, and especially teenagers, you cannot put up content like that, because it is possible you are influencing the next teen of doing that. But at the same time, bringing this issue into the matter, this is just the first phase of the problem. Second phase comes into the obvious idea, restrictive content, not being able to say certain things that you want to say, which they're already doing, and then more things that's going to fall into line. But give me your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Peace.